how was your holiday? How was Christmas?
That was good, man. Yeah, just
Yeah.
pretty mellow. We didn't do anything too extravagant. Hung out with some friends. Typical dinner. We don't get too into the gift giving side of Christmas. We do a little bit, but we don't go bonkers. My kids are no, they're all pretty much grown now. I have my youngest is 14, but the other ones are all in college, and
Hmm.
burdening everyone with extravagant gift giving is a little tough for them. So we
But
keep it
also,
pretty mellow, which is awesome.
it's not what Christmas should be all about, right? So,
It's
they
not. Yeah.
the system makes us want to go for shopping spree and buying stuff like it's so important, but it's not. Family is important, love is important, and Jesus is important. That's the
What's the climate like in Poland for things like Christmas? Like, are you guys as commercialized as America is? Like, we're pretty, the commercial side
I
of
know.
American
Yeah.
capitalism is pretty severe. Is it equally bad in Poland?
It's a tricky question. We're back like 30 years ago when we were under the communist rule. Obviously, we weren't that influenced by Western civilization, so to speak. I mean, I probably haven't put it the best way I could, but I hope you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
when the communism fell, although it really didn't, but let's say it fell, we opened to the Western influence much more. So McDonald's, all that stuff, and with that, of course, Coca-Cola, the Santa thing. Uh,
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Poland is very, very, Roman Catholic. It's another topic, but and because of that, we are sort of restrained from accepting everything as quickly maybe as other countries, let's say. But still, it's very visible. It has changed. A lot of people, have. I don't want to judge anybody, but I don't celebrate Halloween at all, and in Poland it's fairly new, this holiday. So we have like people
Oh,
celebrating Halloween and then Christmas. Everything is like sort of by celebration by numbers, so to speak. Right? There has
right.
to be a tree, there has to be a pumpkin thing or whatever. It's like clearly they look to the films and I don't know, movies for inspiration, I guess, to celebrate that sort of stuff. I don't buy into
Interesting.
that. Yeah. So
So, growing up, because you're in your mid 40s, growing
yes.
up, you didn't have Halloween or the
No, no,
commercial side.
absolutely no, no. Halloween is
No.
very new. I mean, I remember being in high school. It was coming out like, of course, we every now and then we got to see like Scooby Doo or whatever, and then you found out about monsters, celebrating monsters and skeletons, stuff like that. But it's fairly new. However, Christmas, of course, not. Christmas is very it was very popular in Poland. Communists couldn't do anything about it, so they tried to you know they tried the best they could to make Polish people less religious, but never worked. Church is very strong in Poland. People
Okay.
always
But so
defended the right
growing
to go
up,
to church. Yeah,
was Christmas a Christ centered holiday and now it's a Santa centered holiday?
I wouldn't say that. No, no. Officially, it was never Christ centered. But like I said, the governing powers in Poland back in communist times couldn't do much
Right.
about it. I mean, it's a rather long topic actually, because you may have heard that during communist times there were some priests being killed, and there was war on. Sorry, how you say? There was a war on church, in short. Okay,
Right.
so but this never stopped Polish people from celebrating freedom in their homes with their neighbors, going to church. It was never forbidden. They couldn't forbid it, just it wouldn't work. So people were attending masses, sometimes secret masses, and this part of our religion, celebrating Christ's birth and resurrection, of course it could never be erased from the how you say, our society, let's say.
Right.
Okay, but the Western influence with the Christmas songs, red and white clothing of Santa Claus, everything that's modern, actually, it's very, very right now also present in our country. So you can see a lot of that. You're probably aware that, for example,
Yeah.
in America, you have Christmas songs, written by different people, but they generally don't read about Christ. They snowman, snow weather, snowing. It's nice to drink something warm. That type of songs you have, right? In
Yeah.
Poland, we have very religious songs like "A Little Christ is Born," "A Mother is Crying," "Silent Night." All these songs. So it's very
Yep.
about Christ. But
I
it
think
changes.
that's probably more what I'm exposed to. I think for me, most of the token Christmas songs are religious in nature, but there is a heavy mix of winter celebration.
Yes.
In
Well,
the
I didn't want to sound like
yeah.
this. Okay, I
Yep.
sometimes say like a short thing, but I don't mean in general.
No, yeah.
Just sort of stereotype. But I know that you're right. Of course, there are a lot of, thank God for that. Of course,
Yep.
lots of religious people in America, and I'm sure they sing very Christmas oriented songs. But in
I'm
pop
probably
culture,
in it, it's probably almost beneficial for where I live because we don't have winter. You can't really celebrate
I could
the
never.
cold.
Hmm?
It's a tropical paradise. It's always
In
warm.
Poland, it's of course normal. I mean, it used to be normal to have a lot of snow. Right now,
Right.
it's not really. I mean, sometimes there's snow, but usually it's just cold and depressing.
Right.
But
Yeah. Cold,
I
dry.
always wonder what's it like to live in a country state where you have palm trees and sand all over the place
It's
with
weird.
Christmas, celebration. It's always seemed
It's
slightly
weird.
like wow. But I could probably get used to that because I don't mind being warm. Absolutely, I don't mind being warm. I hate being cold, and
Yeah.
but what can you
So
do?
I grew up in Minnesota, which is about as snowy of a winter wonderland as you can get in America.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least, when I was a kid, it was, we never had Christmases that weren't, tons of snow and cold.
Yeah,
So I grew up with the traditions of, the winter. But so Florida's weird for me. It's hard to. It kind of screws with your timeline. Like it's hard for me to remember year after year after year because 18 months of summer just seems like 1 year, and then 10 years of summer seems like 1 year. It's like the seasons are really good at triggering your kind of like a
absolutely.
cyclical timeline pattern,
Yes.
and that gets lost here where it's like, man, how have I been here for this long? It's just because it just seems like perpetual summer.
I can only imagine because I agree that probably that's sort of the way that God intended for the seasons to be slightly different, so that you
Yeah.
can like realize, oh, so it's now winter. Let's wait for spring and all that. And well, like you say, I can't imagine what's it like, but I can imagine it must be a bit. Everything's a bit the same, not in a bad way,
Yeah.
but just yeah.
I
But
mean, it's
again, I'd rather have that, I think, than being cold. And in Poland, we have communist architecture is slightly depressing. All the buildings are the same. People are sad. Working 6 to 9.
right.
Not all that, of course. We are also lovely people, and I have lots of friends. We love to laugh and stuff. But during winter, it gets dark very early, and sometimes there is snow. Then the snow melts, it becomes brown because of the cars and all that. It's
Yeah.
hard to find. You don't see sun much often, especially last 10 days. The cloud seeding and all that stuff that makes you.
What's the what time is sunrise and what time is sunset where you're at?
Well, it's. I guess it's around when I get up usually around 6:30, 7 a.m. and it's dark during winter. That is right, And then like within an hour, half an hour, 40 minutes, it you slowly, you can kind of see the difference. And while it sets down around, right now it's 4:17 and it's already dark. So
right. Yeah, and I think that's the big difference from growing up in the north and then moving closer to the equator. Is we have much longer winters. Like our days the difference between summer and winter is pretty small. But what we miss out on are the really long summer nights or summer days, the short summer nights. And that's definitely something I miss living, because it just doesn't fluctuate. The closer you get to the equator, there's just no fluctuation.
I didn't know. I mean, I kind of knew, but I didn't realize.
Yeah. So the further north you get, then, and if you go up into the Arctic Circle, then, for, summers, right, you're pretty much sunlight all day long.
Yes.
So the further you get towards where we just don't really change much, which is also kind of another way that you lose that yearly track of long summer. Yes. I really enjoyed having long summers as a kid.
Yes,
it's a trade-off.
I love summer. That's one of the main reasons, except for not only for the warmness, but also long days.
It's awesome.
I love it.
Yep.
Walking barefoot.
Super nice. So, but back to the Christmas thing, I'm just curious. Like, you talked about Coca-Cola, being they twisted Santa Claus into being a marketing campaign, right? So when you grew up as a kid, was that already present or no?
No, Coca-Cola was like this forbidden fruit. You could barely get a bottle. I remember, I have this memory because a short history lesson, if I may.
Yeah.
Poland was one of the many countries in the Russian communist bloc, right? And about Poland, there's this saying that Polish people love freedom. We were always fighting for freedom, and I agree with the opinion that Polish people can't be changed. They if you want to change them, you have to kill them. Okay? And there was the saying about the communist bloc that Poland was the happiest barrack, so to speak. Like, imagine having like lots of barracks, and in one there's always party. You can't do nothing about them. There's no discipline. That's Poland. Okay. So, and I remember, like, I was maybe 9, so a long time ago, 9. But so it was, communism was ending, but there was this transition period. Okay, and Coca-Cola already appeared, and I remember being on vacation at the lake, and there were students from other social bloc countries coming into Poland, like Slovakia and the Czech Republic, and back then it was Czechoslovakia. It doesn't matter. So and then for them, seeing Pepsi bottles was like, oh, what is this magic idol thing, right? And we were like, this is bubbly drink. But it wasn't like everyday drink for us. It was very special. I remember, banana, having a banana, like this fruit, right? Right now, it's almost, for my kids, it's impossible to comprehend. Like, what is this guy talking about? For us, banana was, wow. Like, I'm going to peel it very slowly. I'm going to look at it for a while, and then I'm going to eat it very, very slowly. Like, really appreciate it. Right now it's like an apple almost. I mean, we don't grow bananas in Poland, but of course, we have them fresh every day. Same goes for candy. Like in Poland, we had these products. I'm not sure if I will find a term in English, but there was no chocolate. It was like there was a term chocolate-like. So it was brown. It was kind of sweet, but there was no cocoa in it. It was chocolate-like. So during communist times, again, there was in Europe there was this program, let's say, that families were sending packages to poor children in Poland and other communist countries, so that the kids can have a glimpse of how Western people live, like normal people.
Right.
And I remember there was four of us in home, 4 children and 2 parents, and we also received a few times these packages, and unbelievable. I remember,
Crazy.
seeing Snickers bar for the first time. I couldn't believe the colors, because even the packaging in Poland was all gray, paper, one color. So, even the colors, the smell, I remember for me it was like magic. I'm sorry for maybe
how much of that influenced? No. How much of that had an influence on you choosing to walk the artist path?
I don't think that had much influence. I mean, back when it got, let's say, normal, I'm not sure if it's normal. I mean, many things were better. When I look now at how it was and how it is now in comparison, for example, everything was bottled, not in plastic. So, many things were better. I mean, not the freedom aspect, which is very crucial, important, like maybe the most important, apart from having the ability to be religious or whatever. But like I said, bottles, education was better.
Education was better in communist Poland than it is now.
Except for history. But this is a long topic. We can discuss it. I'll be happy to do it. History is basically a lot of lies in general, right? We have modern history, have less modern history, but generally the last 100 years is very, very not really true. What we learn, the history is written by the victors, and they decide what is
for sure.
What is history learned.
For sure.
So of course in Poland we had history that said Russia never invaded Poland and only Germans are bad and all that stuff. But as far as the level of education, the approach to student teacher, that sort of stuff, I think it was better. Yes.
When you, for example, started
wearing uniforms had good things about it. I believe to wear a uniform, to be proud of your school, whatever. It's all, but it's a long topic. Like
right.
Do you know anything about the Prussian system of education?
I mean, no, I don't. I really don't.
It's a very interesting topic. You can look into it. You should Google Prussia, which was a region like Germany kind of region, and they created this educational system first for the soldiers, which was like almost like mind control, creating people who think exactly the same, ready to whatever what you tell them they will do, they will comply and all that. And it was so successful that it was adapted in all armies in Europe slowly. Of course, it took a while.
What era?
And then they realized, hey, let's do that with children, and they adopted this system globally through Rockefeller and all that stuff.
When was this?
Globally, and yes.
Like roughly what years are we talking that Prussia did this with the education system?
1800s, the beginning of it, 1900s, full full speed ahead, and now we are. It's almost all over. I mean, I'm sure you can agree that. I can even see it with how it's progressing, like 40 years. Like I'm 45, right? So I remember being taught differently than I see now my kids being taught. And there are these, memes or cartoons that show like a wooden plank with branches and all that, and the parent is bringing it to a classroom where all these exactly the same wooden planks, very very no edges, they all look the same, and here's a little student coming in, and that's how it works, right? Everybody needs to say the same thing. There are no you can't find a different solution to a problem. There's only one solution to a problem. You're supposed to work by yourself. There's rarely any collaboration. All these mechanisms are created for children to be prepared to doing a job that they will again receive a commission or something to do. They will make it. No compliance. It's sad, but that's how it's supposed to be.
So was you went to the Art Institute of Poland? Fine.
No, the name of the school I went after the high school, because I had a
Yep.
like a
Where you got
normal,
your master's?
normal, of course, in brackets, normal school education. Even though I really love to draw from the very early on. Sorry, but my mother suggested that maybe go to a normal high school, have all the subjects you can have, like biology, chemistry, whatever. And if you still want to pursue arts, you can go to Academy of Fine Arts. That's the name of the
Yes.
school academy. And that was what I did with my twin brother. We both went there, and I don't regret it to have.
Was that in
academic
the town that you live now?
Yes, the academy is one of the few in Poland. Poznań used to be a capital a long time ago,
Okay.
like hundreds of years ago, actually. But it was the first capital of Poland. Then was
Okay.
Gniezno, and then Warsaw, whatever. So yeah, we have academy. Warsaw has academy. Krakow has academy, and a few other cities. But now it's changed.
Yeah, because I just tried to find out where the school that you went was, and it brought up for Academy of Fine Arts there was 3: Krakow and Warsaw, and the town you live in that I can't pronounce.
Okay, it's Poznań. That's how you pronounce it, but you can write Poznań, Poznan, without the weird letter at the end.
Yeah.
And you should still find it. But the name has changed. That's another part sort of the educational system change that is happening globally. University, that's uni, like for everybody, everybody fits in, and everybody's the same, like in short, of course. So it changed its name from academy, which is more like elitist, not in a bad way, I think. It changed into university, Artistic University of Poznań. So that's the name it uses now. It's no longer the Academy of Fine Arts. Yeah.
And did you find the education system at the Academy of Fine Arts to be, I don't know, communist and rigid, or was it more organic?
You have to remember that back when I was studying, it was already like 15 years after the communism collapsed. Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's very complicated because these revolutions happen not organically. I hope you know this, right? I mean, I used to believe Lech Wałęsa, all these John Paul II. It's much more complicated than that. The love for freedom is organic. People in Poland love freedom. So we went, we jumped on the train or the bandwagon, as you say, and we managed to let's say regain our freedom. But it's very complicated. Now we are very influenced by America, by Israel, and it's all very complicated. But answering your question, when I was studying, it was like early 2000, I think 2001. Was it though? Maybe it was even, I think it was 98 or something. I don't really remember right now. Doesn't matter. There was no communism. And as far as I would still repeat what I said about the educational system, with Academy of Fine Arts, I believe it should be like a normal thing, I think, in regards to artistic education, that you have people who are rebellious, different, strange, whatever, and you can't really have the same mechanisms or rules with everything applied on such education. I'm not sure if that's a thing, but I can say that with, for example, back when I was studying at the academy, we were allowed to smoke cigarettes everywhere. And you were not allowed to smoke anywhere in any other higher educational school. Right now, it's also forbidden in Poland, in the University of Artistic University, from what I know, at least. For example, professors were very, very different people. Some are allowed to do more or say more than others, right? And we had some really crazy times. So it's not, you can't really, you can't really compare that type of schooling with any other. I have one twin brother, who's also an artist, and two other brothers who are not, and they went for university, like normal professor work, and I can confirm with their experiences that normal students, very smart guys, and now they are lecturers at university. So
did they go to university in the same town that you went to the Fine Art Academy?
Since you've asked, I have one elder brother who Mikołaj in Polish, very smart guy, and he's 3 years older than me, than me.
Yep.
While the twin brother and one other brother, we are all same age. We are triplets, and me and my twin brother, we are artistic. This third guy, John, his name is John in English, Jan. He's a sociologist. Yeah, sociologist.
Okay.
And he lectures sociology on medical university. Also with
and all of your experiences with higher education were all vastly different.
Very much so. Yes, very much so. But I can. Okay. I don't want to brag too much, but I can say that, just like my elder brother, my John, the guy I mentioned, as well as me and my twin brother Gregory, we all were, pretty good. I for example, I received a scholarship from Ministry of Culture at some point. I used to be, even though you can't really. I always say this. I don't know the word in English. Forget it. Forget it. I'll skip that anecdote.
So when you had made the decision to go to the Fine Art Academy, were there other options? Had you considered attending a standard university with your other twin triplet brother? Had you considered taking that analytical path and not going the artistic route?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
If you would ask me now, if I was now to decide, I would probably only decide between going and maybe deciding, do I really need it? Having the internet right now and all this stuff that you can, take from. But I don't regret at all. Especially it was 20 years ago. There was barely internet at that point. So no, there was no other way. Ever since I was a child, and me and my brother, we always drew. I could spend hours playing football, soccer, but for you it's soccer, right? For me it's football. But then I returned home. I could draw comic books, and I loved it. Everyone who knew me can confirm, and that I was always drawing, and there was no other path for me. Then during the academy studies, we were exposed to all the various things you can do artistically, right? So I was studying small sculpture, I was painting, I was doing graphic science. That was the name of the class. I didn't back then knew what was all about. I knew nothing about computers and typography and stuff like that. I have a funny story that I can tell here. Please, maybe is that when I was designing my diploma exhibition, because when you finish the studies, you have whole year to create something more spectacular, let's say, and then you have an exhibition, and you need a poster to advertise it for students and families. I did it in Word. At least to me, it's funny because as a designer right now, I'm using all these programs, and I think I know a thing or two about designing.
Indeed, yeah.
But back then, Word, Times New Roman, and
right.
It was funny. So yeah,
that is funny. So when you went to the academy initially, did you have an idea of what kind of artist you wanted to be? Or you just wanted to make art and you were completely open-minded to just learning and not carving out a path? Were you just totally okay with letting the chips fall as they may? Or did you have an idea of did you want to be a fine art painter or a sculptor, and then that path veered off into another direction? Or how did that unfold?
Thank you for this question. Well, the second part of your question seems very much like my approach back then, and basically now as well. I'm very open to new things. I as much as I of course can, and God allows me. But the very fact that, for example, at the stage of the exams to the academy, you had to back then decide which sort of certain at least direction you wanna follow. So, for example, there was sculpture, like sculpture. That would include large-scale sculpture, small-scale sculpture, and generally, very physical path. Okay, like more physical, more. You have wood and all that stuff.
Yep.
Me and my brother, we went for more drawing inclined direction, which was etching. Etching is a term that not everybody knows, but it's generally a very old printing technique that uses metal. Okay, yep. And we went for metal, but we also had woodcut or lino cut, because more modern versions in lino. So yep. Woodcut, we had serigraphy, we had I don't remember the English name for when you print with rock. Litho.
Lithography.
Litho, yes, lithography. Yes.
Yep.
All the, let's say, we touched on the design aspect of graphic industry, let's say, but very, very, very basic. Like I was using markers, not computer, to create marks and stuff. So that was like that. But we also had painting, and of course lots and lots of drawing. So that was generally the direction we thought was best for us, because I was very much into comic books in high school, and I thought, drawing is important. Why not try etching, and let's see what happens. So that was the story behind it. But it was the most universal, let's say, direction of all the.
Yeah,
direction is the bad word, I guess, but. Comparing to others on the academy, this was the most universal, with the most subjects sort of separate from each other within the artistic group of subjects. Sorry for.
So it was very like printing. Like your degree was very printmaking based. Like
yes. I have a master's degree in printing, in etching, basically, because there was also you could have like master's degree in litho or serigraphy.
Yep.
I had in etching and in drawing, because I made two. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And back then, I can tell you that I mean, etching is something else. Like you right now, computers scanning things. Everything's so much easier. Etching is very hard process, especially when.
Is that like intaglio, like etching on copper plates with acid? And...
Yes, that's exactly.
Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and. Normally, if people know as much as you do, which is impressive, they envision something rather small, like I would say this size, right? You
Correct,
have
right.
the Dürer, Melancholy, or famous artworks, and they are usually rather small. While I started small, I started with these small things, but then during diploma, the year of my diploma. I was doing large-scale figures on the metal plates, so large metal plates. You have to polish them to achieve mirror effect, which for hands, it's killing the hands. And I had 5 of those figures. Like if you can only imagine, it's a long story, but it was...
huge presses.
Yes, and I made huge figures. I was very much into naked bodies, old figures, sad themes and depressing themes. We can also dive into that matter as far as demon possession is concerned. I'm not laughing from that. It's not a laughing matter.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I believe.
Dark influences. So you had more of that when you were younger.
There was some dark influence on me through music, I suppose, because I had a pretty lovely upbringing with my lovely mother and brothers all around, but probably through music in high school I had these pessimistic thoughts. Then I started reading Nietzsche, which is
so I don't know a lot about growing up in a communist Polish country, but were you exposed to, I don't know, standard Western music as a kid, or was that also shielded?
There was shielded, but again, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned. I mean,
you were like 12 or 13 when communism ended? No,
I think it was. I mean, I guess I was 11 when the official ending of communism happened. So I guess you're right. So I remember my parents listening to Beatles and Led Zeppelin or Yellow River. Yellow River, Yellow River. Do you know Christie?
No.
Yeah, is that
okay.
you don't know the guy? That's
No.
an American folk song, I think.
Okay.
We had this. I don't know. I don't remember the name in English. This old player of these round
Records?
tape. Do you know the name of the? Not a.
Talking about record player albums?
Yes,
Just-
but on this wheel thing, you had two of those, and you had tape
reel to
going
reel.
from one to another. What was
Yeah,
it
it's called reel to reel.
I guess it does
Yep.
then. And we had that at home, and we were listening. My parents
Okay.
were listening to those. My mother loved Elvis as well. And then when I got older, all the cassettes came in, and then later CDs, of course,
Yeah.
also. And I started listening in high school. There was Pearl Jam, so I got into grunge, and you probably know about grunge, that it's more
Yep.
pessimistic, suicidal, and it's
depressing. Yeah, everybody was fueled by heroin. What about growing up artistically? Like, were you influenced by other Polish artists?
Yeah.
I don't know
yes.
a ton of Polish artists. I kind of, Stanislav Zukalski and Beksinski, and I'm sure I'm slaughtering their names.
Don't worry. Beksinski is very well known. It was a great influence, and still is,
Okay.
actually. Although he is very depressing, and if you read into it, it's quite depressing. But nevertheless,
his life.
Yes, his drawings and his imagination, absolutely spectacular. I would definitely name him one of my 5 top Polish artistic influences. But we have famous painters like there's Jan Matejko, which you may not know, but he's a famous historical painter. Although, for example, my painter teacher always said that he was more of a drawer than a painter, which I can understand, because he wasn't that much into color, blue shadows and strange reflections, and finding this colorful vibe in scenes that he was painting. But he was very, very super hyper fluent in drawing. I heard a story about him that he was able to pass the exam for the Academy of Arts in Warsaw by drawing a perfect circle, like perfect circle. So and he was a masterful drawer. I can later send a link.
What was his name?
Jan, like Jan.
Yep.
Matejko, which is Matjko.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look it up.
You can look it up. And he's very. I mean, he drew these very large. There goes one influence on me, I guess. Very large scale paintings. Like, for example, I don't know the names in English, but there was this famous event in history of Poland when the Prussia king fell on his knees before Polish king. And imagine a scene like you have, of course, these 2 characters, but also all the other people, like, surprise, some women crying, dogs are, barking, all these, the clothing, everything's like perfectly drawn, amazing. And there was another painter that I will gladly mention. His name is Jacek Malczewski. So Jack in English, Malczewski, that's Malc. Sorry, C's. I'll link it.
Send me a link.
Later. Yeah. He was the most famous symbolic painter in Polish, art history. You probably know this, or maybe not, that during 18th, 19th century, like mostly 18th, symbolism was very popular in Europe. So there were a lot of painters painting, women with often ancient elements, symbols to them, and they all had very symbolical allegories, like the night and the moon, all these things. Very, very,
right,
very cool, I have to say. And also this had an influence, because when I create something, I love to hide different meanings inside of the things I create. I try, at least. So and Jacek Malczewski was a brilliant painter, not only painter but also a drawer. He really could paint. One of the most famous of his paintings are in Poznań museum. So I always when I felt like stuck or whatever, I could visit and look at them very large again, and lots of figures, in how you say, different angles, very difficult to paint and capture.
Okay.
So not like this,
Dynamic.
or like this, or hand very, in front. It's very difficult to capture everything, and he could do it masterfully. So he's a great inspiration.
So most of the work I've seen from you is cinema related and typography, do you have, is that just what you show online? Is that just your, I guess your commercial work side? Like, do you have I don't know, body of personal work that you kind of keep to yourself, or?
Yes, I used to have, I started out with personal work, during the academy years, and a few years later, I was pursuing the path, artistic path, but it was maybe because of that's how God intended. It was not very successful. Not that, being successful, what does it really mean, right? But in terms of people wanting to hang something like this, there weren't many.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the reality kicked in. I found a job at an advertisement agency, so it was like this both pop cultural Western blow in the head, like do your stuff, like start drawing storyboards. I was doing like packaging stuff, learning Photoshop. It took a year. Then I quit because it wasn't for me to have people telling me, do that, do this. You have to work on weekend, blah blah blah. I don't mind working on weekend, but not on something that's like some jelly or whatever. Yes, I remember working on jelly, so that example is not completely off the bat. Is that how you say?
Right.
Whatever. And then I established my own company, which helped me reach out to clients. Both the agencies still contacted me and asked for every now and then for something. And
is that Studio KXX?
No, that's the one. Yes, I still
Studio KXX.
Still have the stupid name. Yes.
What's the name? What's the name mean?
What's the story of the name? I mean, the name is Studio KXX. That's the name. The story is that I, a bit like with me creating the diploma poster in Word, when I decided like maybe I should start a company, like one person company. It's not like many people, whatever. Yeah. I went to the special building, with boring women drinking coffee and not having time for anything. And I was like, I want to start a company. And they were like, okay, what's the name? And I was like, I haven't thought of that. The name. And I came up with the name Studio K, which my name is Krzysztof. Yeah. So uninspiring. So not a single thought was put into that. And the name is Studio K. And after a few months, I realized this name is awful, absolutely awful. It somehow reminds me of like maybe a barber shop or something. Maybe some hair studio, maybe.
Yeah,
that's the term. And I was like, let's change it. So I added XX at the end of K, which resulted in the name I still use. And then a few days later, many people told me they don't receive emails from me because the algorithm, some algorithms, how you say, they
flag
KXX as XXX, which I hope you know what it means. So
I would have never thought that.
Yeah, I went from hairdresser salon or studio, right, to a porn website out of a better word. Of course, I've done none of that, neither hair nor porn, but I stick with the name. Long story short, many years later, I started using my name, and what I do now, most people recognize me by the name, not by the name of the company, which is still there, but it's more like.
I like the name of the company. I think it sounds cryptic.
Yes, but now there's nothing cryptic about it.
Yeah, that's okay.
I later to make it more, to make more sense. I created a logo with K and X with a double like X with 2 at the top, which makes it like double X, KXX, and I used that for my branding and a few posters I signed with this KX2 thing. But later I decided no, I should be known by the name, if anything, and even though I know that people can't really pronounce it, I was like, that's who I am. So. But I'm glad you say you like the name Studio KX. So
yeah, I don't know why in my head. I mean, I know it's not like a Roman numeral. I know K is not a Roman numeral, but in my head, K, it's 1,000, right? And I just like a kilo, like a K is 1,000. So I just figured it had some play on like a 1,020 or a something. But it made me think like, I wonder what it is, So
I'm
you
really
should
sorry.
find something and just lie.
I'm really sorry to disappoint. Maybe this is the last interview where I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, just lie. Make something up.
Next time I will lie that yes, the idea was basically the kilo, and but no, I don't want to lie.
No, but you can tell a good story.
Yes,
Well,
maybe.
Or you could formulate meeting years later.
Yes, of course.
Also
it's
fun.
also just like small changes to the name. Maybe yes, I will come up with something.
Yeah. My tattoo studio is just called RedLetterOne, yes. Which started off a completely kind of random. I mean, this was probably back in 1998 or 9, and I wanted to have a website. And I had gone to school for graphic design and interactive media. Mm-hmm. And I thought the internet was going to get huge. And I thought it would be cool to put my tattoo website, like my tattoo portfolio, on a website online. And in the 90s, that wasn't very popular. And I didn't want it to be philipdavidholt.com, which is what it is now, which is funny. But I didn't want it to be my name because I always like a degree of secrecy.
Yes.
I like the idea of having secrecy. It does make business difficult. So, but I just thought if I'm going to do a website, I should just name it whatever I would maybe have my tattoo studio called. And that way, I was probably 22, 23 years old. So I was like, if one day in the future, like 10, 15 years from now, I own a studio, what would I want it to be called? And I thought Red Letter was a really good name for a tattoo studio that doesn't sound like a standard tattoo studio. It's not like the White Lotus or the Blue Tiger or like whatever. I figured everything I wanted something that was a little more mysterious. And I went to get the website on the domain search or whatever, and I typed in Red Letter, and it was taken. It was already, and I was
That's
like,
the one, I guess, right?
I thought that was like a really obscure name. And in my head, a red letter occasion or a red letter day is just a memorable experience. And I'd heard the term kind of like top shelf or, I don't know, it just kind of signifies like a good thing is what was in my head. And I went to get the website and it was a Bible salesman. And I was like, what on earth does this have to do with Bible sales? So redletter.com was a Bible sales. And this is, back in the 90s. So when I typed in Red Letter, the domain server just said that, oh, sorry, that domain's already taken. How about Red Letter One? And I was like, okay.
Number one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that was just the next option. So I just picked it and went with it. And then years later, it just became a thing. When I opened the studio, I was going to just call it Red Letter. And everyone was like, no, we like the one, like keep the one. And so I just kind of ran it out, but I had no reason. I didn't really understand what a red letter occasion meant. And I had no idea that it was a Christian thing.
I didn't know and don't know either. What's
yeah. So if I understand
in old books, is that?
Yeah. So basically, before Gutenberg invented the printing press, everything was handwritten, scrolls and tablets, and even down to calendars and whatever. And so they would mark, the scribes would write Christ's words in red, and they would make religious holidays, Christian holidays, on a calendar. They would always make it in red. And so that, signifies Christ's blood, and it became a thing that, when they did start mass producing Bibles with the printing presses, they started printing Christ's words in red. And so a red letter means initially that, like it's Christ speaking, pay attention, was what it initially meant. But then it just kind of became a thing where the day your kids are born or the day you get married, those are considered red letter days. I love so it just signaled to an importance.
Yes, but I love the connection you have there. I mean, I could only say I envy you.
Yeah.
Coming up
random
with that later, your path. You mentioned it to me. It brought you closer to God. So this is amazing to have that.
Yeah,
that as well. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird, wow, that fits oddly well down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I didn't expect it to hold any degree of importance like that down, but 26, 27 years later, shoe still fits. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's great power in circumstance sometimes, right? That coincidence. Sorry, I meant to say that. It's maybe not the best example to say in regards to biblical stuff, but this painter Francis Bacon used to say that when he's sometimes stuck, he just throws a brush at the painting and he lets the coincidence decide what was missing in the painting. What sometimes like a white splatter in a good place can make a difference in composition, right? So and this example of the story really, really works well also with what I strongly believe in, which is that, God works in mysterious ways. And sometimes you don't have the job that you wanted to have, but it turns out that the one you got is much better, is the one you love. And that was how it was supposed to be in the first place. So,
right.
So maybe with the name you had there, it's also a bit like that. I wonder.
And so Bacon would do that with art. He would just throw paint on his canvas and wait for inspiration to come. He would do that when he was stuck.
No, not literally when he didn't know how to start, but Francis Bacon painting. So it's figurative, but not very realistic. Like it has some abstract or maybe expressive elements to it. So he said that, for example, he had a portrait, but there was something missing, like a line or maybe some creature in the background, something that would add to the composition because something was missing. So he would close his eyes and just throw a brush with a large paint thing on at the end, and it would create this splatter or whatever that would sometimes work and sometimes wouldn't. Right? He was one of those painters that burned all his work until he was 50, I think. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Which, by the way, I can tell you a story that.
Do it.
I recently moved to a home, and it was always my dream to have a home. I managed to buy one with a garden. I never had that, and I was doing cleanup of my very old workshop / studio in a basement room. It was very dirty and all that, but I had all the drawings, all the paintings, everything I did at the academy there, and I destroyed most of it. Just
did
like
you burn them?
It was very hard for me. I was don't do it, but sometimes you have to destroy everything to move on. So I destroyed most of it.
What prompted that? Why did you want rid of everything?
Well, I didn't have place to put it anywhere because it's complicated. The place where the workshop was closer to my parents' home. My parents sadly died not so long time ago, and long story short, I wouldn't have anywhere to keep it. But also, my mindset changed. why should we keep too many things? We don't need many things. Like if we have love, if we have family, if we have God, of course, that's more than enough. And of course, we need, I don't know, a plate to eat from or pencils to draw with, right? But
Was
I
there
decided I don't
more?
need.
Were there negative connotations to some of the art that you wanted rid of?
Well, not necessarily.
No,
Although
okay.
when they were created, I was still under the strong influence of very pessimistic philosophy. I barely mentioned it here.
Yeah.
So Friedrich Nietzsche, Nietzsche, as Americans say.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that was like the impetus to cut that cord and like move on, or if it
Yes,
was completely
yes,
neutral.
it all happened within the last few years when I guess a pretty large change came to my life with
Yep.
everything, with COVID and stuff, and it opened up my eyes to many things, many things, and one of them was what I said, that I don't need that many things to have.
Yep.
I don't believe I want others to have them. Or to know these particular pieces of art that I destroyed, and also what you just said, which is, I was, painting very depressing and
Yeah.
sad
Dark
things,
stuff.
and why? I asked myself why, and I don't want to do it anymore. And with this sort of story, I can kind of go back to your question that I realized I didn't really fully answer, which you asked me. In my work, do I only focus on posters and commercial stuff, or do I do personal stuff? Which, I haven't really answered this question. If I can do it now, let me, please. So, but very shortly.
Ironically,
Right now,
also the only thing I own from you is personal. So
that's beautiful. That's
that's the only thing I actually have from you is
so
personal collection.
Yes, I'm saying this to be held accountable maybe later on. My how you say my goal for 2024 is to definitely do more of personal stuff. I want to, I have this dream of doing a graphic novel, but this is really grand in scale. So who knows? Maybe I'll just do a few pages this year. But I also have a plan to create many more personal images. Not, I mean, symbolically, hopefully close to what you probably own, which is the tree, right? Is that the one, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I have autumn.
But I also want to put more, evangelical themes into my work. It's Bible is a huge inspiration. I mean, obviously, the stories themselves are throughout the history of time they were repeated, changed, modified, a bit like in Shakespeare. I'm even sorry to compare with Shakespeare, but Shakespeare, of course, was also a pretty smart guy, if that was his name. But that's another story. So right. That's my plan for putting a lot of evangelical stuff. And
is that the graphic novel as well?
Come again?
Is the graphic novel also biblical?
Well, since you've asked, it evolved. I mean, I have idea back in high school. I had the idea to create a graphic novel. Back then, my dream was just to make a comic book. Hopefully, I mean, graphic novel / comic doesn't really matter how you call it, right? I mean, something nicely drawn, great story. And my dream was to maybe make it as good so that it will become a movie at some point, because I always wanted to do movies but didn't know how to even approach it. Right? So, okay. Then after studying, I was more into art, let's say. So I put the comic book dream aside for a while there. But then with graphic design, with commercial work, it returned with a flood of ideas, because I in my work, I try to experiment with different styles, with different techniques, and I'm always very flattered if someone tells me that, oh, your style is recognizable. I can see, I always know when it's you. But even though it's very flattering, and I'm glad it is so, if it's so, I still consider myself a person that would try different solutions here and there. Like I can draw with pencils, I can draw with ink pen, I can draw with color crayons or whatever. I can draw digitally in various styles. And I would love to use all these styles, all these techniques in one graphic novel where you would, I don't want to say too much because I think it's a pretty good idea in general, but this would be like this stream of consciousness type of idea without Ulysses and Joyce's, because I didn't enjoy trying to read Ulysses, if that's how you pronounce it, right? I barely read like 100 pages in my head was, okay, I'm done. But I love the idea. I love the idea for the thoughts being like channeled on the page, okay? And now imagine this being, I mean, not 100% like this, but, I don't want to say too much. But this being like a graphic novel approach where you would have, let's say, a character walking through a street and then seeing an advertisement which is drawn in a completely different style. And you would move through pages like that, with different styles popping here and there, and that was the idea that was with me from the academy and throughout the, let's say, commercial years. And right now, through the awakening and the whole COVID situation, I realized that not only that what I just described, but telling parallels and stories from the Bible, sometimes just having a single quote from John or Matthew or Jesus, basically. As a quote, just appearing in a even not thematically correct story. Like imagine a Western, let's say. I don't know why, but let's say a Western. I always wanted to draw a Western, at least 2 pages. So having a Western, people sitting by the fire, and one person says whatever that suits the story, but something from the Bible. Okay, and you would read through this book and ended up, knowing a great bit of beautiful quotes from the one and only Lord.
I hope you find time to do it.
Yeah, I can't wait to do it. I believe a lot of stuff I do and think about, even separate from the graphic novel, would fit into the graphic novel as a double-page spread. I'm not sure if I'm describing this right. I'm not sure even sure if I want to describe it too clearly to view everyone. But the idea is there. I have my brother on board potentially with filling out 2 pages, and my good friend who's also helping me with colors, with posters. We are all together recently, very much close together with with the situation around the world, and we meet often, and we talk, we conversate about God and stuff, and this is something that really connects us, and hopefully we can start this year.
That's amazing.
This is my dream.
How disciplined are you in your daily art life? Like it seems like when we were talking the other day, it seems like you're pretty scheduled.
Yes, that's true. I am in very many aspects of like your typical artistic character person. I'm not this guy. Okay, first of all, I'm more conservative. That's one thing. Like I'm already disqualified in many whatever.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I don't mind. So I know. I always tell the truth. I always had that. I never, if I have a friend who's doing something bad, I always tell him, like, I'm not the guy who would pretend in order to achieve some, oh, you like me now because I'm like everybody else. I always, I had this sort of rebellious aspect to me, which I cherish. I think it's not the Luciferian rebellion. It's more, I was always against, communists, people telling me this is true. You can't read that. That type of stuff. So as far as rigor and discipline, I am, yes, I'm very much so. I get up early. I can, when I say something I'll do, I usually do it, right? So same goes for poster work, any other work that is time absorbing. You need discipline because I'm drawing for a month, for example, every day. You can get bored from time to time, but discipline helps. Like with me also, it helps that I can always jump to another corner of the image or artwork, and I don't want to draw tree anymore. I'll start with the animal, and this will be more fun. Okay, but every now and then you have to draw a lot of hair or beard. I hate drawing beards. I hate drawing beards. I hate drawing hair. Maybe that's because
You're really
I don't have
good
hair.
at it.
I don't have hair. Why should I draw hair? Right?
Right.
I'm kidding. I hate
You have a
drawing
beard.
architecture also, but when I draw architecture, I'm usually very satisfied when it's already done. Like architecture, usually, well-drawn architecture, which I'm not a master of. I know many great artists who great architecture drawing, but when you look at those drawings, you're like, oh, that's this guy, Katsuhiro Otomo, the guy who
Of course.
yes.
Yep.
So I have a graphic novel there. You see, sorry, I'm not pointing all there.
Yep.
It's nine albums of Akira graphic novel, which, by the way, this is the size of graphic novel I would like to one day maybe could say it's mine, whatever. His architecture drawings are beyond comprehension. Like I hope he was using computer in 80s, although I doubt it. But it's amazing, absolutely amazing. So sorry for jumping through the subjects, because that's something that's with me, but. Discipline, yes, very important. Yes, I have children also. You have to be a little disciplined with children, right? They get up to school. I have to get up also. I have to buy bread and prepare sandwiches. I do it. I love them, so I do it happily, of course. But that's the discipline.
What do you do when you find yourself uninspired and artist block? Because everybody has that. Like, there's no way to evade that completely.
It used to be different back a few years ago. Maybe thanks to Holy Spirit, God, whoever helps me with pushing forward. Because you say every artist gets stuck at times, and I read about artists being stuck. I never really had that, like stuck. Would that mean not being able to create anything for a month, a year, or something like that? That's absolutely not me. I sometimes had that situation in the past, that I, for example, had a commission for a poster, let's say, like a gig poster, for example, and usually when I'm creative at the day. I can come up with at least one idea. So let's say when I was stuck, which I'm not sure if that's the proper term, after a day I got home and I was like, I have nothing. I came up with few ideas, but they are rubbish. Nothing works, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do tomorrow, but we'll see. And then tomorrow, or even during night, I came up with an idea, or I've spoken with my brother, who sometimes helps me in such instances and says, how about this? How about that? I, of course, do the same for him. And, well, yeah, sure, I'll try that. And then next day, I try it, and it usually works. For example, Christmas and this period in the year is usually very intense when it comes to clients opening new budgets for the new year and closing the budgets for this year. So usually I have more emails with questions and projects. So, and that was exactly the case this year. And I had few. I can't mention what they are. It doesn't really matter. And one project, boom, 3 ideas. The other project, I was making sketches today. I already have like 3 solid ideas. I think they will all work. And I have no problem recently. Maybe it's because of what I said. I don't want to repeat it too often, but I really believe that having God, Christ in your life clears you from negativeness. All maybe things that were restraining you from. I don't know how to put it. I just don't have that anymore.
So you don't really get artist block. That's great.
Yeah. But I can imagine that, for example, writers with writing, probably it's a little different. But with drawing, you start with something. I with posters, for example, if this topic doesn't bore you, I can say that I always when I'm commissioned a poster, I have this great gift that is usually total creative freedom. It's thanks to the fact that I'm doing private commissions, so it's a private person that wants to own some poster, and it's not even a matter of being stuck or not. But I usually my first thing I do is I try my sort of go-to solutions for a poster. And if recently, for example, I have made, let's say, 3 posters with typography inside, I'd rather look for something else, just to do something different, to maybe have a little bit of a break from this solution. But I always try it. I always think like if the title is short, why not, right? Joker, very short. Why not, right? I like incorporating things into letters. It's reminiscent, I think you can say that, of the comic books where you put artworks inside the panels, and you have these frames that create composition on a page, right? So yeah, I love that solution. So
again, I was getting that was one of my questions I was going to ask you, is if there was a comic book panel influence to your typography.
Absolutely, there is. Yes, absolutely, there is.
I love your lettering. Like, I'm a huge fan of the way you approach it, and I'm also a huge fan of graffiti, or I was a huge fan of graffiti, more 90s, I guess, stuff. Is there? Do you pull from that? Do you pull lettering from
graffiti or?
Yeah.
Well, graffiti, not necessarily. I remember in high school there was, in Poland, I mean, communism fell, so we had skateboarder guys, roller guys, graffiti, guys. It's kind of connected, these 3 at least, a little bit, of course, with music, dog eat dog, stuff. I never spray painted anything. I believe I've never used a spray can. I never. But these days, nowadays, for example, when I'm also looking for inspiration, I visit sites like Pinterest and Instagram. You can type in like I don't know, super modern typography or crazy Japanese sci-fi stuff, and you find influence of graffiti in lettering where there are distorted alien looking. I love sci-fi movies for that exact reason, that you can, I mean, in my world at least, because not all people like my stuff and it's great, but the people who do, and especially I'm important here as well, I do like it. I like to go crazy with sci-fi. Like if you have a movie set in 2200, right? Let's make the poster look like it's in 2200. Why? Because why not, right? And that's where you can really play with crazy typography. And as far as graffiti is concerned, I like the wide letters and crazy shapes, sometimes with like iron elements incorporated into them, all that type of stuff that is very, very modern. I like it as inspiration a lot. But I never did.
Yeah, I think there's a side of like really like when graffiti is done well, and I think typically I don't think it is.
It's sad, but it's true. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Most of it's not great, but when it's great, it's really, really great. Like Absolutely. It's just like there are some guys out there that are just how it works, killing it.
It's probably the same with everything. Of course, graffiti is a slightly like different, not in a bad way or good way, type of art, because it's urban, street, like more human for everyone kind of art. And like you said, you find these 3D graffitis on the internet where you have a shark floating in the corner of some destroyed building, and you're like, what is this mastery? And then of course you have hooligans, some ugly signs of genitalia or stuff. It's still considered a graffiti in a way because it's written in spray paint, and it's shit. But same thing with art, I would say, right? You also have, I mean, these days, of course, there are some interest groups pushing on art to be ugly, because I'm conservative. I told you already this. So I
Yeah.
don't mind saying that starting with Picasso, I don't get it. I wouldn't want to own Picasso. No, like there's nothing there for me. But I don't mind Picasso because he at least was painting, right? But then you have like crucifixes in urine, or people selling bits of feces in jars, and you're like, this is supposed to be ugly. This is supposed to make normal people say, what is this, right? And
Right.
back in the day, like hundreds of years ago, at least we had artists who could draw the way that people would say, how did you do this? Wow, this is uncomprehensible. Buildings, sculptures, of course, the same thing, and were much more beautiful, much more crafty. And I remember when studying at the academy, we had professors talking about me and my brother's drawings, that this is just like tricky stuff, because man, they obviously know a thing or two about drawing, but who cares? Let's have a installation where someone will knock off with a hammer a little piece of the wall, and we will have it framed as an installation because it's art, right? So this is art. I am just doing trickery. I don't mind, being called like a craftsman, and not an artist, because I had that in the past. Because I'd rather be a craftsman and be appreciated or not for things I create, which are, let's say, nice looking, or at least require a lot of work, because that's also something I'd rather cherish over an idea, or just this guy can talk for hours about this white sheet of paper. He didn't draw anything, but he had many ideas, and that's the whole idea. Okay. There was this famous, sorry for the monologue, there was this famous example of what I'm talking about. I think the best there is actually on the topic. There was an artistic biennale in Sydney, all right? And there was this artist, luckily, I don't remember the name. And he created, I'm not even sure what it was, but I think it was like this thick plank of glass, so a square of glass, okay, let's say like a plank of glass, okay, and he called it a tree, okay, a tree, like this thing with green leaves, and a tree. Right. And there was a biennale in Sydney, and this artwork was not, they said on the border, no, this can't be brought in because it says it's a tree, and you can't import trees or plants into Australia, okay? And it's funny because it was the guy who said no on the border that made legitimized this artwork, because he in truth made the glass become a plant which can't go into Sydney, right? But without it, it's just, maybe I'm crazy, but who are you trying to fool here, right? Like, is this supposed to be interesting? I mean, the anecdote I said, I think it's pretty funny. I think it's interesting, amusing, but okay. And now it's gone, and I'm left with this bitter taste in my mouth because you don't have to be religious to enter a church and have this gasp at the wonderful lighting, the window, or the sculpture, the Pieta. It's wow. You go, who made this? I mean, I'm sure God was leading the hand of the artist who created this, and this is wonderful, just beautiful. What a man can do, to praise God or whatever. And this is art for me. While starting with Picasso actually, but I don't want to talk too much about Picasso, although he was a communist loony. But these days, when you have like urine and anti-Christian, and most often than not, because not anti-Islam or anti any other religion, and you have all these artworks that are just crap. They just want people to talk.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a standard response for most art illustrators. Like if you have draftsman skills, I just think the average illustrator who has draftsman skills is going to not relate and recoil from conceptual art. Like, I mean, I have no interest in it either.
And
I actually
I
think that's almost one of the interesting elements of graffiti. And back to your typography is, I think the average person that looks at it can't relate to it, doesn't know what they're looking at, and immediately dislikes it because they can't read it.
yes,
And
there might
there's
be
a
some.
degree of good graffiti and good typography that's kind of like problem solving. And once you kind of learn how that puzzle works, it's pretty easy to look at it and immediately know what's an R, what's an O, what's a, you can
Yes,
pick up letters really, really quick
yes.
if you've spent some time looking at it. And then it's easier to tell when someone's lettering style is done well or not. Like, it's easier to appreciate, but it takes some time to get through that maze and figure out, I guess, what you're looking at, because you've taken, a standard letter, standard typography, and you've warped it very specifically to look good. But most people look at it and they can't relate, right? So they automatically don't like it because there's a weird challenge in, like, nah, I don't like looking at that. Like, it looks weird. Do you get recoil from your lettering? Like, do you get people
Well,
that are like bothered by it, or just because they don't know what they're looking at?
yeah, it's. Thank you for this question. It's gonna be maybe a longer answer. Well, not really, because I try not to read negative comments. Of course, internet is full of different people. Some
Trolls.
people need to just have this need for writing mean things or whatever. I don't want to play into that. So I'm sure there are people out there, and I probably have seen a few comments that say, "Oh, I wish he didn't do the lines on top of the artwork. Just leave the artwork as it is, or whatever." It's of course also
Okay.
very flattering if somebody likes anything I do. Why not? But I like it, so I do it the way I like it. And the legibility is not exactly the main thing I want to convey or whatever. I would expect maybe 10% of people being able to, or even, sorry, wanting to read it even, like, but here's the thing. Let's take Joker for example. Maybe I can any other poster with letters, but if you have a Joker character like Joaquin Phoenix in the middle, and scenes from the movie inside of something, some strange shapes, 5 of them, does it really matter if it says Joker or whatever else? For me, it looks good. For me, it is, of course, Joker with imagery
Yeah.
incorporated inside. But if one can't read it, there's another Joker usually at the bottom, or other version of the title at the bottom, which most often than not is clearer to read than the let's say main typography, or the big one that I use very often, like I already said, as a sort of comic book panel solution, because it gives me, sometimes I do composition where images overlap each other, like they are transparent, and one
Yeah.
is visible underneath the other, right? But sometimes the edges, or some of the edges, create these perfect lines for, let's have this scene here, let's have this scene there. Sometimes it is like narrated from the beginning to the end. So this just helps me organize it and fill the poster with as many scenes as I want to include, because I'm just like the fans of the movie. I usually love many scenes. I would love to include as many as I could. But because sometimes it's better to make everything clean, just one scene, small character at the bottom or something, and it also works. So can I talk a bit more about this? So I had
Yeah.
this pretty long time ago, like 2007. I made a fan art for this game, The Last of Us, which is great, by the way. Of course, has its own agendas, like everything else, but I don't want to, get into that too much. So I love the game. I had a daughter, small daughter at that point, so I made a fan art, and it was a fairly simple composition for me, right? A large head, a small jowl at the bottom, and few scenes, including the giraffe scene on the head of the Ellie. Okay, and internet blew up a little, which is very good, very flattering for me. I received commissions from Nike, blah blah blah, Witcher, it was very nice. And this type of composition is, fairly simple. Like, I could do that with any property. Yeah, like name it, right? Whatever. Right? You can have I don't know, anything, anywhere you can take the lead character, large portrait, few scenes, including some landscape scenes, and small silhouette of maybe the bad character or the same character with a gun, whatever. It just works, right? And too easy for me, too simple. Then again, let's go back to the question about being stuck. If I'm stuck, I can always use like this 100% idea that usually works. Like all you need to do is just find proper references, and we should be fine. George, we should be fine.
For inspiration.
But sometimes I look for more complicated stuff, or I want to incorporate the craziness of the movie. For example, the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is my wife's favorite movie. This movie is very crazy, very indie in a way, right? Very dreamy. Okay, and all these things. When I was trying to give justice to the movie, I tried to incorporate. So lots of scenes, great scenes, complicated, because this movie is not very easy to understand, right? And all that. So all these things. Sorry.
What would you do if you had to hang up art and do something else?
You mean not posters or something new?
Work. Just work related. If you had to do, for career's sake, to feed your family, if you had to stop being an artist, what would you get into?
It's a brilliant question that is nowadays pops here and there, especially when I talk with my brother. We live in strange times right now, and the situation is sketchy, to say the least. Of course, it's forbidden to be fearful. It's a sin to be fearful, in fact, right? So I try not to fear. You can't believe in God and fear, right? Because we had examples of people being about to be eaten by lions, and God knows what's best for us. So that being said, as a sort of preludium to my answer,
in the planning sense, do you find planning merely motivated by fear?
No, I would differentiate between like fear and planning ahead, because I have kids. Obviously, I don't want them to starve, right? So I have some food.
It's your job.
I have a small garden, right? But all things, I don't want to dive too much into the so-called conspiracy theories, which are just theories. Just conspiracies, not theories. But if they all come true, there's not much one can do to avoid harsh times, right? That's the mildest I can put, right? We have poison from air, the water, the food, the United Nations military from different countries that will not be able to speak your language, so you won't be able to say, "Hey, come on, man, we're brothers." So all these things, we shouldn't worry. I mean, whatever, man.
Right.
God is in control. God has the plan. So whatever happens. And part of that attitude, in regards to your question, is, and I have the same with my brother, is that, and we are trying to convince our other brothers, especially the other one, to the same view, is you need, I mean, again, another sort of digression, but still within the answer. My elder brother, for example, and the other one, John, they are both at the university. So the government sort of hires them, right? In a way, it's a job that is safe, secure. Everything good with this comes, yes, but also a few bad things come with this, right? Including vaccination, for example, and stuff like that. But I don't want to get
mandatory,
much,
right?
Okay? So while I'm having my own company, so I'm separate as much as I can. Of course, I have to pay taxes, which I hate. But but I'm one person, one company, so you can do nothing. Like, I'm doing my thing, you're not helping, so.
Yep, I'm in the same boat.
Right?
Yep.
And now I go back to the answer. So, conversating with my brother, I am prepared that, for example, there's energy crisis, boom, there's no internet, no nothing.
Right.
So you can't pay, you can't buy, you can't sell, send posters. So my creative job is gone. Okay, I can be a beehive keeper. I can milk cows. I would rather do anything natural. So I'm like, I used to be, maybe not against, it's a bad word, but I was like, oh, peasants, I live in a city, I'm better because, we have city, we have cinema, ha ha ha, they are small village, blah, blah, blah people.
Right.
180 degrees right now, like stupid city people, liquid trees and 50-minute zones in a few months from now, I guess, while people with farms, normal food, not poisoned food, lots of potatoes and survival. Okay, so hear me out. So answering your question, yes, I hope, I know that God doesn't bring anything to us that we cannot bear, right? So the grief, the sad moments,
Yeah.
right? It's usually the case that if you,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have that in your life if it wasn't for God knowing that you're able to survive this, right? Go through this. Of course, also thanks to Him, right? Because that's much easier. So this is where I'm at. Like, I would rather not, because I'm still a normal person. I would rather continue doing comic books and doing that stuff that I love,
sure.
and
Right.
enjoying life as much as I can, considering everything happening right now. But I guess it's coming. I'm sort of prepared. I read my Bible, so I'm trying to be spiritually strong, put my armor, of God, and whatever happens. And I hope if something really bad happens, I'll be able to do something that has connection with nature. So anything, I can do anything. I can build.
Do you live rural now? Do you live in the country?
No, I wish I wish I did. At the beginning of COVID, I decided to move from a district of flats. I think that's the name of it. I mean, in Poland we have these large buildings, many flats inside. So like this ant hive thing, beehive, thing. But so at the beginning of COVID, I decided, no, let's sell as much as we can. Just buy a house, and we bought a house. It's still in a city, but much more silence. Is that how you say? I mean, it's not as loud anymore. Few cars running around, but it's city. We have buses going to the center, and it's still city, but more like edges of the city, which is not as big in the United States. Polish cities are smaller, 300,000, I guess, or maybe 500,000, not more. I guess. Okay. I don't even know how Poznań is big, but probably something like that. And you have millions, right, in cities, I think.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Yeah. So you'd be a farmer.
How about you? Are you also getting ready? Because I think it's.
Well, I mean, I don't. Again, I'm not very fearful. I don't worry. I just don't. I don't really have. I think I'm just gonna. With the crazy life that I've already had, I just kind of roll through whatever comes. I'm not really worried about tomorrow, but I do continually think about how long. I think I worry about how long I can stay creative. Only because I see it affect other people. So there's part of me that wonders if I can, stay creative and stay inspired as an old man. And I'm creeping into old man now, so I think that's the only thing I see other artists that are, fantastic for a phase of life. Right. And they have all the energy in the world to push, and they grind, and they, but do they stay creative for the long haul? That's kind of, I think, on my mind. So I think of it that way, but I don't have any other plans. So,
but would you ever consider doing something else than tattoos?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, So, I mean, I've been tattooing 27 years, but I've never not been, me and my wife, we have quite, we have a pretty extravagant print studio at our house. So we have some pretty fantastic presses. We do that a lot. She's in school right now for her master's, but she got a degree in art studio with a focus on intaglio printing years ago. So printmaking's
What
always
is
been a
Italian
big thing.
printing?
And intaglio
Yes.
on copper plates.
Yes. Okay, sure.
Yeah. And I've never not painted, sculpted computer programs. Like, I mean, I've always done things outside of tattooing. So, tattooing is definitely how I feed my family. That's
Mm-hmm.
I've never had any success selling personal artwork. I mean, I've, sold some stuff, but never the kind of thing that can raise a family of four. And I've always loved tattooing, but I don't look at tattooing as something, there's not, I mean, I know a lot of tattooers and I don't know many past the age of 60 that have stayed, I don't even want to say relevant, but inspired. Most people burn out.
I don't know much about tattoo
Yeah.
industry in that sense, but I would
It's a physically demanding job.
yes, I would imagine
Yeah.
it's a bit like with, sorry for comparison, but the dentists, I know they have issues with the
Yes.
fingers because of the tools they are using, very uncomfortable
Yep.
positions of hands in the mouth, of course it's a completely different thing. But with tattooing, you also have a pen and you need some
Yeah.
force probably to use it. In some sense, I also have that with pens. My hand also hurts
for sure.
when I draw a lot. So who knows what I'll have to do later.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think oil painting's been harder on my hands than tattooing ever has.
Really?
Yeah, holding a small. If I go on a phase where I paint like 6-7 hours a day, for a month, and like it's holding little brushes is a lot harder, just because
Really?
it's so small, it's so tiny. Whereas holding a
I
tattoo
don't
machine is
remember. Are you
bigger.
drawing large or small things?
Both.
Both.
It just
Okay.
depends on the job. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I
Yeah.
I haven't painted in years. I remember not being comfortable with the palette. Is that the word, right?
Yep.
I
Right.
had this, and when you had to keep it like a large one in hand, it was exhausting. But when I'm sitting and palette is on something up here, right next to me,
Yep.
I have a small. I usually try to both pencil and small brushes. I try to keep like this, hold like this. Yes. Then
Yep.
it's not that, but maybe it's everybody's different.
Yeah.
So who knows? But as
Yeah, I
far
mean,
as
it's
you also asked about creativity, maybe I'll mention this as well in regards to not being able to do what I'm doing right now. I could easily do other creative stuff like games, for example. It's one of my dreams to make a game one day.
okay.
I have a friend who's very talented in games, sort of environment. And who knows, maybe one day if everything comes to shit, so to speak,
I think that's the answer I was more looking for was if you had to,
yes,
so it'd
okay,
still be
because
in the creative world, but outside
yeah,
of what you're doing now.
right now there is, I mean, I don't want to scare anyone because we are not supposed to be fearful again, but
Yeah.
if it really goes to shit, it will. Then there's nothing. Like we have Last of Us vibes or Western, which by the way, my kids said. Well, I showed them this game, bits of it, a Western game, Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay, let's be, but nothing brutal. I just showed them the horses and stuff, and they were like, if we were to choose some epoch we would want to live in, that would be Western. I'm like, that's great, kids, that you are saying this, because who knows, maybe one day we'll be riding horses again and enjoying fire and folk songs and stuff, right? It was much purer in many ways. Going back, so But if it only, it makes it hard. Something happens that it's hard for me to make posters and send them out. For example, I can do games easily. I would definitely enjoy creating sci-fi games for sure.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And then you know what? We're going to wrap it up. And my final question is, what advice do you have for up and coming artists? Like what do you have for the young guys, the 20-year-old dudes that are just starting to figure out what their path is artistically?
Okay. Can it be a long one?
Absolutely. It should be.
All right, because you can't really advise. It's almost like choosing your favorite movie or something like that. I always say, can I give you one from each genre at least? So as far as advice, I used to say follow your heart, but it's not biblical, right? You should. I mean, but maybe when you put it like this, listen to your heart. It's in fact listening to the Holy Spirit that's inside you, right? You should listen to it. You should listen to it because there are instances in life where just something tells you like it's not for you, or she's not for you, he's not for you, or like, why are you so angry doing this? Maybe it's not what you're supposed to be doing. And in my life experience, of course, I made lots of mistakes. It's another. We can make another interview about my mistakes, but core decisions in my life, I believe, were governed by the Almighty, and they turned out great for me. And that would include changing the sort of creative environment from time to time. Sometimes, for example, I was in one agency for a year, in another I was almost 2 years. Then I decided to be on my own. It was very short period of time. Then I created a studio for creatives people. I was doing it with my partner Peter. We had 10 people inside of one studio. Very creative period in my life. At that time, for example, creatively, I was creating a lot of illustrations for Nike. That would include basketball illustrations. I'm a short guy myself, like not very high. Like I'm, not very high, not super short. Then again, but like I'm not high, so I never enjoyed basketball, right? So drawing basketball, many people told me like, "Oh, you're doing for Nike, and you were Nike wrote you and wanted you to draw something." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's LeBron James. Who cares?"
Right.
I don't want to offend anyone who loves basketball, of course. I'm not a fan of any sport, like with any soccer, football, but not to fight you for it. Absolutely not. So so I was drawing a lot of basketball illustrations, and I was like, honey, I don't enjoy this anymore. Like, what should I do? My wife usually tells me, well, you should continue because it's good money. I love you, honey, but that's not what I do. I listen to my, back then I thought heart. I'm telling you, it's Holy Spirit. So I listened to it, and I was like, sorry, I'm not doing basketball illustrations, nor sport illustrations for that matter anymore. I'm starting movie posters, and now I'm doing movie posters. And just like I mentioned here, I had the let's say normal compositions. I had typography compositions. Now I came up with these frames that I incorporate into compositions. Mm-hmm. But I'm already thinking about new things, like not most movie poster and movies at all related, because of many things, including the Hollywood being satanic, as very very satanic. Just that. So I'm thinking about new things. So that's my advice. Do not linger over the same lane for too long, if only you can, right? So if you're doing tattoos, I imagine you can do type-based tattoos, but then hey, let's flip it. Let's make some figurative tattoos, or if you're doing logos, let's make few logo types. Not only in every creative field, I'm sure you can find these routes that can lead you not astray, but to a new world, right? That you can explore, and you can find how you say, adventure in this, and staying sort of excited. Yeah, staying excited, staying alive within creativity is the most important thing, because if you don't have fun, you're doing the job, right? The job.
Right.
I told my friend yesterday, we were meeting my friend, and I told him that there are various words that are in fact spells. I'm not sure if you know this theory. There's a theory that
No.
spelling is spelling means
right.
give me the letters of the word, right? But the word spell means spell, like in magic. You are spell casting. So there are some words. It's a pretty complicated theory. If you want, I can go into that a little more. So there's the theory that Shakespeare is in fact not a one person, but spear shakers were the group surrounding Francis Bacon, who was a Mason, and they were supposed to create great literature that will later become the canon, and that will make people use as many new words as possible. And many words, in fact, were created by Shakespeare. Okay, one argument that is for that is that many people who know literature recognize very different styles in Shakespeare. Like this couldn't be written by a single man, but who knows? I don't want to. You know, I'm not a specialist, but there's this theory, and these words have, like I said, have meaning. For example, if you say "good morning," the pronunciation is exactly the same as if you would say "mourn." Mourn. If you mourn somebody, so if you're telling somebody "good morning," you're wishing him to mourn good. So be pessimistic, and even though people don't know it and they don't often recognize it, the sound, the frequency of the word all has influence on us. So it's a very complicated topic. I don't want to get too much into that.
Interesting.
But in general, final sentence on this. It's gonna be maybe silly and naive to some extent, but love others, love God, love yourself, and if you're happy about yourself, you'll never be empty. You'll just be.
I think that's great advice.
Yes. So it's so universal, because it's not only creative. If I used to be different. I sometimes I had these angry days. I was driving a bus or a car and looking at people and you stupid, oh, how you walk. Now I'm ashamed of this. Like, why would you be this way to others? You don't know them. We are all fighting. Day from day. These days, of course, times are difficult. You open the TV, you hear very scary scenarios, and we need to be loving each other, open to each other, happy.
Yeah, I mean, empathy is. I feel like it comes with age.
Yes.
I'm definitely much more understanding and aware of my own shortcomings the older I get. It's easy to be judgmental when you're young.
Yes.
And you don't have to go through too many hard life experiences before you start, empathizing with people and giving them a free pass.
There is this construct often portrayed in TV and pop culture that not only white males are stupid to the core, but also the older you are, the more stupid you get, which is not true. I mean, of course, there is dementia and other very sad diseases, by the way, created by the pharmacy industry, and most often than not. But what about experience? What about knowledge? What about the wisdom you gain throughout? I mean, it's so obvious because, right? Well, when you're, how does a smart person look like? Well, he's old. He has a gray beard. Yes, that's exactly that, right? And still, at least I was like that when I was young. Like, who cares? I mean, blah blah blah. Go on, old boy.
I've only recently started realizing, like say I'm driving down the road and I see an old man with a cane walking across the street or whatever. I've only started recognizing that guy was a little kid yesterday. Like his life unfolded really, really fast. And I noticed that a lot in myself, where I feel like I'm now at the like I'm at the first stage of being an old man, where it's like, and I feel it a lot from, I train jujitsu pretty regularly, and
Yes,
being 47 in a room full of 23-year-olds, it'll make you feel old quick,
absolutely, and
Um, and I feel like I was 23 just last week, Um, and so now when I see the old guy or the old lady walking across the street, I realize that they're just in that phase. They're not, it's not a movie. Like they're not a character in a film. Like you know, they were 20, like say they're 70 now. 50 years ago, they were 20 and full of life, right?
yes,
But in their heads, they were 20 last week. Like every time I talk to anybody who's elderly, which I do quite often, um, they're baffled at how fast life went by. Everybody's like, no, I've never met someone who's, in their elder years that's like, ah, yeah, what a slow, boring life I had. No
yes,
one.
yes.
Everybody's baffled at how fast it went, and I'm only starting to realize now, like, what a um, well, just that people, they're not characters in my private movie. Like they're their own people, and they're aging and maturing and changing and drifting, and like there's this constant movement that I'm aware of,
Yes.
that I missed when I was younger. Um, and I
If
don't know if
only,
that's just the wisdom of age that comes, but I'm more aware of it now than I ever have been before.
I have the same thing. If only it's gonna be trivial, probably, but if only one would know what he knows now, if when he was younger. The same goes for experience and stuff. I sometimes fantasize what would I be doing now if I knew what I know now back then. But of
Right.
course, same goes for life and all its mysteries. Let's say, because uh, yeah, I remember, for example, being taught, and there's this notion in society, I guess, to make yourself known to the world in some way or the other. I don't mean like fame, because not many people dream of fame, I guess. At least the fame where you have paparazzis and you can't really walk through the street. But
Right.
these days, for example, even though I mentioned, my name, I've been signing my posters with my name and all that. Many times people ask me to do that. I don't, I don't really. There's no me anymore. Like I'm a bit like Jim Carrey, almost in that sense, the new Jim Carrey. That
Yeah. Yeah.
we, you know, the things I do right now, the movie posters, I make them to provide for my family and to make people who want them happy because they ask me. They
Yep.
I try to stop sooner, but the list goes longer and longer with posters they want me to make. But there comes a day, there will come a day when I will be like, I no longer wanna do it. And again, my advice is to just follow your gut.
Yeah. It's perfect advice. I'm interested to see how you use it, as your path unfolds too. So I hope
Yeah,
you
I'm
get
very
to.
excited for next year's. If only we will survive it. Um,
You will.
the future is bright. Artistically is bright, but who knows what happens? Whatever happens, I think I'm as much prepared as I can be. I'm glad I got to know you and get to know people like you. I'm sure there are many of us who think similarly, and we should all be together
Yeah.
right now.
I feel the same way, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this interview. Let's stay in touch. Let's do it again.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sorry for
Yeah.
the few stories that were like miss, hit and miss.
Nope.
That's how you
Perfect.
said.
And man, for me, it's perfect. I mean,
Okay. I'm just
and a lot of doing this is self-serving to a degree. Um, I enjoy it, and it's fun. I don't really care who sees it, like who does, like it doesn't matter. I had a great time talking.
okay. If
I had
anyone,
a great time hanging out. So,
okay,
this is like the beauty of technology is I'm in Florida, you're in Poland, and we just kind of hung out at our
You are
studios
warm,
and
I
got
am
to know
cold.
each other. So yeah, right. Yeah, I'm hot. It's hot here. So
Are you
no,
going?
man, I can't thank you enough. Like, love to do it again. Hope your new year unfolds magically. And
Thank you. So
yeah.
so you're probably going swimming. I'm going to make a snowman.
Yeah.
All the best. All the best.
I'm gonna go take an ice bath and then hit jujitsu and then go home and
Yes, and I'm
pass
gonna
out.
put on all the coats and scarves and
Yeah.
hats that I own, and maybe I will not freeze to death.
Well, it's like the grass is greener thing because I love the cold, and we should just
we
swap
should
houses
make a
for the
swap.
winter. Yeah,
You know,
let me
family
know.
swap.
Yeah, right. All right, man. Great
Thank
talking.
you. Thank you so much.
See ya. Yep.
See
Thank
you.
you. See ya.
God bless.